It felt like it was going to be dark times for the Toronto Blue Jays when the Vlad Guerrero Jr. deadline passed in spring training. But finally, the sun is shining on Blue Jays fans as their franchise player is staying in Toronto. What does it mean for the team, and does it let Shapiro and Atkins off of the hook? No. But let's discuss. So, finally, the Toronto Blue Jays have found someone who wants to take Rogers' money. If you go back on the YouTube channel and watch the video that I did after that deadline passed in spring training, that is about as sky is falling I have been about the Blue Jays in a really long time. And I will say, like, just a quick tangent. Again, I was in Japan. I'm probably going to reference that a lot. It was an amazing trip. Japan's awesome. But I couldn't help but think, because one of the things I was thinking about when that Ohtani to the Blue Jays thing and he was on the plane, what was all going down is the neck, because I remember in 2019, we're now on a bunch of different side quests. I promise I took my Vyvanse this morning, but in 2019, I went to, or sorry, it was 2020, right before the world shut down. I went to Japan, and you were seeing Shohei stuff then, and he wasn't the guy that he would end up turning into, right? He was just a whatever dude. Like he was an interesting good player, but hadn't reached MVP caliber yet, and he was still everywhere. And so I thought, like, when that's happening, like, man, I know I'm gonna go back to Japan someday. How amazing would it be to walk around Japan everywhere and see that Blue Jays logo right there, that Blue Jays logo everywhere? How cool would that be to do that? And trust me when I tell you, Shohei was everywhere. And he was wearing blue, but it was Dodger blue. And so that kind of got me a little bit bummed out about that whole thing again. But realistically, from a Blue Jays fan standpoint, like, oh, you didn't get two of the top 5 players in Major League Baseball in Ohtani and Soto? Oh, woe is you. Neither did anybody else aside from 2 teams. So deal with it. But if Vlad would have left, like, you look at where the organization is and where just any of that, where this team would be without him, it is very, very, very dark. And so you could understand Blue Jays fans for not exactly being patient with the front office. But for the low price of $500 million over 14 years, Vlad is a Blue Jay for life. Toxic, I did not watch, well, I didn't go to any baseball live when I was there. I am going to talk about my Japanese sports experience at the end of the show, because I did get to see something really, really cool when I was out there. I watched some baseball on TV because it was local time when the Cubs and Dodgers were doing their thing. And the preseason games against the local teams were broadcast on national television out there as well. So I was able to watch a bit of that. It was really, really cool. But to go to it live, no, I did not get to go to that. But back to the contract here. It actually seems fair. You know, like it actually does seem like a kind of, it makes sense for both sides, which again is insane when you're talking about $500 million. But it was always going to be a bit of a tricky negotiation because on the one hand, long-term contracts for first basemen, who at times can be a little bit on the plumper side, those don't tend to age very well. On the other hand, 26-year-olds who have finished in the top 6 in MVP voting twice already don't tend to hit the free market. So, how was this negotiation going to go? You then factor, on top of all of that, the shit sandwich of desperation that the Blue Jays were in after the failures of free agents past and the failures of just all of the seasons. It was going to be a very odd negotiation. In the end, the term and the dollar amount seem fairly reasonable. You are banking on this guy being at an elite level for a really long time. Basically, everything points to him being able to do that. What he has done at other levels, what he has done at this level now twice. I just, the confidence of the people around him, like it felt like the down seasons that he had were more the outliers than they weren't. So I feel like, obviously when he is 40, I don't think he's going to be hitting 305 and cranking 30 bombs out of probably still the Rogers Center. But I do think that for a extended length of this contract, this is going to be one of the best hitters in the sport of baseball. And so you're banking on that. when you are making the third biggest deal in baseball history and easily the biggest deal in Blue Jays history. That's just you are banking on that being a thing that Vlad is going to continue on at the pace that he is on. But again, everything kind of indicates that that's going to be the case. From a fan standpoint, this is a no-brainer. We've been following this guy at every level of his career, and he's the franchise guy. And like, just think about the last franchise guys that this team has had. I would lump Donaldson, Bautista, and Encarnacion all into one kind of franchise group, I guess. And it was cool, but it was 2 years that we got with those guys. Really, right? Like, you got the fun of the home runs and stuff like that, but like the real, like, this is happening was a 2 year stretch. And it ended frustratingly both times. And then after that, like before that, it's Vernon Wells just falls off of a cliff. And then Delgado and Halladay, phenomenal Blue Jays, but the biggest stages of their career were elsewhere. Delgado playing in LCS games with the Mets, Halladay and his perfect game with the Phillies in the postseason. And so, like, you have to go back a ways before the franchise guy was like this like big thing and someone that you could really say, that's a Blue Jay, that is our guy. And honestly, the last one who was that, we kind of don't talk about him anymore. So from a fan standpoint, yeah, we want this guy here for a really, really, really long time. And the thought of him maybe going to the Red Sox or the Yankees and winning titles there, it would have been a lot to take. And now you just don't have to worry about those rumors anymore. And for Vlad, it makes sense too. It is a whole country that has embraced him. He is the face of the franchise here. There is a non-zero chance that at the end of his career, he is the greatest Blue Jay of all time. And as kind of referenced before, he is at the very least the greatest Blue Jay we still talk about of all time. But the GWSTAOAT doesn't exactly roll off of the tongue. And I don't think it would have hurt his reputation, like kind of throughout baseball, because I don't think the Blue Jays are that team, to be perfectly honest with you, but there could have been a bit of this guy's just running to go collect rings and just had to go to a super team to win and blah, 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 blah. There's going to be none of that now. If the Toronto Blue Jays win, it is going to be because he is here building a winner for them. And that's exactly what you want for, what some people want anyway, from a star player standpoint. And for the Blue Jays, it was a must. Like, there's no way around it, I don't think. Like, if he would have left, division rival or not, if he would have gone and just been like, you know what, man, I just fucking love Pittsburgh. They got the water over there. They kind of screwed up with the Roberto Clemente thing, but they fixed that. So, you know what? Just always seemed like a great spot. I love Steel. So, Steel Town it is. That would have been devastating. Yankees or Red Sox, astronomically worse, right? There's not a whole lot left in the system. The Major League roster, quite frankly, isn't good enough to not have a superstar in the middle of the order. It's not good enough with the superstar in the middle of the order. So if Vlad would have left, it would have been a really, really long time before this team was good again. And that would be a real problem, I think, for Blue Jays fans, because it's not like we've had a ton of success to bank on anyway. But it also does help the reputation of the team, I think, throughout baseball, right? Because the reputation was starting to become that they are going to come in second place on a lot of free agents. And you can use these guys as a team to drive up the price to the places that you really want. And being a Canadian team, you don't need to give people that kind of ammunition, right? Like, there has always been, and there will always be, something about being the Canadian team in a largely American sport, whether it is baseball or basketball. If there was a Canadian NFL team, it would be that. There has always been no one really wants to go to Toronto. You know, like, look at all the think pieces that came out about how Ohtani going to the Dodgers instead of the Blue Jays was better for baseball. And I said it then, and I'll say it now. The Blue Jays aren't nearly as bad as people think they are nationally. And Toronto isn't nearly as bad as people think it is across sports. And I think the Blue Jays in particular need to do a much better job of kind of pumping that chest out a little bit and celebrating the wins. And not just the ones on the field, because there's not enough of those to do that, but like the TV ratings and the sellouts at the Rogers Center and all those different things. Like, you need to really say, like, hey, this is a baseball city. It's a baseball country. And we are putting up numbers here, so people need to be paying attention. And Vladdy can now be at the center of that. He can also be your main recruit and your main salesman, right? Like, he is a very popular player amongst players, right? Like, you look at the home run derby when he's going out there and just cranking dingers. And the amount of players that are swarming around him and the amount of guys who are getting involved with this guy. And you look at that and you see like, okay, why is this not leading to people coming to Toronto? And it's like Vladdy, that there was no investment in him. So, but now, he's going to be locked in there for a really, really long time. So now, if I'm a star player, it's like, well, Vladdy's giving me this thing, but he's only there for 2 more years. Like, I'm there for 12. Why would I want to do this? Now he's going to be there for a long time. So now you are locked in with this guy for a long time. So I think it helps in terms of recruitment and stuff like that. I asked coming into this, is this a job saver for Atkins and Shapiro? And immediately, Toxic in the chat on Twitch said, hell no. And I would tend to agree with that. I have already said that I don't see what the argument is to keep Atkins as the Blue Jays GM. And if Vlad leaves, then he should just follow him out the door. Like, I honestly, if I were the owner, I would have fired him going into the offseason, and I would have fired him the second that those negotiations started going the wrong way because of how important this guy is. There is still a bit of pressure on these guys now. Like, it does give them at least one positive press conference that they can hold where they can't be just the smarmiest, smug guys for no reason. They actually have a reason to be a little smarmy this time. But, like, you don't have the pressure of we have to win this 1 year or else Vladdy's going to leave. You now have 14 years to try to win with this guy. But you still have to, right? Like, you still now have to win. And this does buy you some time. But again, I will remind you, you now have more time to build a winner around a guy who you just gave the 3rd biggest contract in the history of the sport to, and the general reaction was, yeah, that makes sense. That's how good this guy is. And you have won a grand total of none playoff games while he was on his rookie contract. So the pressure goes away a little bit. I think basically it just takes away an in-season axing off the table and basically buys them this year, in my opinion. And I am lumping them together, and people like to make the nickname thing and all of that. I think it is more Atkins than Shapiro. I think Shapiro, as far as a president goes, like he refaced the Rogers Center and all of that. So he probably gets himself at least one more GM. But for Atkins, like you have failed to build a winner around a guy who was an MVP candidate twice while in his rookie time / arbitration years, and you won 0 playoff games with him. So there is so much more pressure now, I think. Well, maybe not more pressure, but the margin for error is smaller now because a lot more money is tied up in that guy. So this does not forgive the sins of the past, but it does potentially provide a bit of a stay of execution, if nothing else. As far as what's next, the attention is now going to turn to Bo. And this is one where I would be surprised if Bo was a Blue Jay next season. He didn't seem thrilled that he was backburnered because he absolutely was with the Vlad negotiations. I think he's going to get a lot more on the open market than the Blue Jays would be willing to pay him. So I would be surprised if Bo is on this team next year. As for the rest of baseball, it does really seem like the Red Sox and Yankees were banking on Vlad being the final piece to go challenge the other one going into next year. The Red Sox specifically, like that was a big thing. You get Bregman here. It's not that big of a contract, and we can still get Vlad and still have the infield of Devers, who I think just struck out again, and Bregman and Vladdy, and then whoever the hell you want over at shortstop. And okay, now we got a championship type of a lineup here. So now a giant franchise player is off of the board, and you've had a couple of those come off. So Kyle Tucker, loving this news right now. And even like the Baltimore guys who are going to be up before you know it, they're going to be loving all of this as well. The other part of it is that this keeps the Blue Jays in the big ticket market probably for a long time now. And like if Vlad leaves, they probably go the rebuilding route. And so it's just one less team to compete with in these types of things. But the Jays are going to be in that market now for a really, really long time. Plenty of more baseball to come as the week rolls along here as well.